Hello, my wonderful and discerning viewers. Today I am bringing you a discreet look at Metrico. Let me get the words out. Metrico Plus. I am playing on PC, but it is also available on Mac, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. Right now, let's just load right back into one of the earliest stages, so I can give you a more complete overview. But before that, in the interest of complete disclosure, this video is being made possible by a review code provided by the developer, Digital Dreams. Also of note, a brief history lesson on this game. Metrico was originally released exclusively to PlayStation Vita back in 2014. It was part of Sony's Summer PSN promotion, the name of which sadly escapes me. I simply think of it as the Summer of Arcade on PSN. It's been made part of some rather nice games, some rather interesting games such as Metrico, and some lesser known games which have since slipped from my memory. But enough about reminiscing. Metrico Plus, the game that we are playing today, is a re-release on current-gen consoles and PC that has changed the game in some rather dramatic ways. If you never played the original Metrico, it is a mathematically inclined puzzle platformer. As you can see, one of the chief conceits of the game is a sort of input-output mechanic where certain actions you take change the environment in certain ways. Right now, if I jump, it will raise that platform, but not everything is consistent, and in fact most things change from puzzle to puzzle, so it's a very organic and rather clever puzzle platformer in many ways. What is new on the PC version that you are seeing right now is that the game has been redesigned almost entirely to make use of new control schemes. The original game relied very heavily on some of the more quirky aspects of the Vita, such as its tilt sensor and even its camera in places to control various puzzles throughout the game. The result of this was a game that was rather interesting in how it utilized the Vita in very uncommonly seen ways, but also resulted in a game that was maybe a little too esoteric for its own good. I know I had to repeatedly set the game down because playing it was simply uncomfortable for prolonged periods of time, which is rather disappointing because Metrico as a puzzle platformer is actually rather enjoyable, and I was very happy to see it come to PC with a new control scheme which is certainly more traditional, but you really do not need to reinvent the wheel when it comes to something like controls. So let us dive in a bit more about what Metrico is if you did not play the original. So as you can see, the game is broken up into little stages such as these, which each feature their own sort of twist on the bar chart mechanic of the game. And the primary challenge in these scenarios is to simply discern what that twist is and how to interface with it properly. This all sounds rather dry when I say it like that, but pay no attention to my rather bland overview of how the game works. It is actually quite clever, and when you're playing it, the experience is at times a little sublime. As you can see, the art style is very low poly and minimalist, but I find it quite charming and certainly not unpleasant to look at. One thing I do like about the PC version, and this would apply to both the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions as well, as should everything I say in this review, though I have not played those versions so I cannot vouch for them personally. The thing that I like is that now that the game has been placed on larger screens and at higher resolutions, the art style really comes alive in a way that is shockingly engrossing and fully realized. The game looked very nice on the Vita, but there is simply something about playing it on a larger screen that causes it to be significantly more engaging in a very meaningful way. I often found myself just wanting to stop and look at the backgrounds because they are very captivating in a sort of Android wallpaper way, which may not be the most captivating of comparisons, but if you have ever fallen in love with any of Android's material design conventions, then you will know exactly what I'm talking about. So with this puzzle here, we are having to work out multiple inputs at a single time in order to properly navigate the puzzle. I need to move left and right in order to get those two platforms to lower, but I also cannot jump too much or this platform that I am currently on will skyrocket far out of reach. And that's one of the nice things about Metrico, is it puts all of these various systems together in a way that feels very organic and also very enjoyable to suss out how they all work together and how you can navigate through them in order to... Well, that was a bit of a derailing of my train of thought. The game has unfortunately crashed. I don't really know what to say right now. This has not happened in any of my testing while I was reviewing the game, so I will contribute it to a bit of a fluke on my part, possibly on account of me currently recording. But this does give me a rather nice example, or a rather nice chance, I should say, to jump into one of the later portions of the game and show you a little bit about how it changes from world to world. As you can see on the map, there are 6 worlds, and one of Metrico's main defining features between these is that each world introduces its own mechanic, which is then layered onto the previous ones. It's a nice sort of systemic sandwich for you, if you will. And that definitely means that by the end, things become rather incredibly challenging, and it's very rewarding once you are finally able to overcome those challenges. In my experience, I did not find any of them to be exceedingly frustrating, though there were definitely times where I was quite stumped for a while, and rather than get frustrated at the game, I simply set it down and let my mind work it out away from the computer, which is my favorite way to get past some rather devious puzzles when I am playing this style of game. Perhaps that won't work for everyone, but if the alternative is banging my head against the desk waiting for the solution to come to me, I would recommend just taking a break. So another thing, as you might notice, between these worlds is that the art style changes as well. The original was quite nice, but now we have this nice sort of Tron aesthetic going on, kind of harkens back to monochromatic displays of the 80s and 90s. As you can see, we now also have the ability to shoot these little light probes, which is one of the nicer changes from the Vita version, is now we are able to shoot these using simply a normal click or a trigger if you're using a controller. Versus in the original game, you would have to tap on the back touchpad and aim with the front touchscreen, which is about as clumsy as it sounds. This new version works significantly better, even if it is a little less creative in how it operates. Some things are simply better left unchanged when they have been proven in better games. In any case, that was an unintentional knock against Metrico that kind of slipped out. I honestly feel as if I am doing this game rather a disservice, because despite my accidental critiques of the game, I really do not have anything that I greatly disliked about this. It's a very fully considered experience that I rather enjoy due to how it is so entirely wrapped up in its own conceits. There are certain puzzle games that seem as if they have simply grabbed ideas from various places and pushed them together as if that in itself was enough to elevate them out of simple imitation to being something unique. But Metrico really feels like its own idea, and that's something I very much enjoy about it. There is a bit of light transhumanism thrown into this version, which did not really grab me, despite my generally being very inclined with that sort of narrative conceit. But it is just on account of Metrico not really being a narrative-driven game, and while I appreciate that the developer has put a little more, they have sort of filled out the narrative in a way that is certainly enjoyable to watch. There are these rather interesting cutscenes at the end of every level that are at times a little disturbing, but nonetheless wrap the game in a more cohesive blanket of aesthetic that, while it doesn't necessarily contribute to the narrative being compelling, it at least alludes to something being there, which is a bit of a nice change from the rather minimal context the first game existed in. I am rather stumped at this puzzle. I will admit I am not quite sure what I ought to be doing. But in any case, I will probably be wrapping this video up quite soon, so it will not matter if I cannot work out how exactly I am meant to pass through this stage. I thank everybody for watching, and I hope this gave you a bit of a taste as to what Metrico Plus is. If you already had it on Vita and enjoyed it there, I would definitely suggest giving it a go on PC or whatever console you have available to you. I found it greatly improved over the original, and certainly it's nice to play the game without having to rest my hands because it was physically painful. That may not be the case for everyone, so certainly weigh your decision to replay it accordingly. If you have not played Metrico, then this is the definitive version, and I would certainly recommend checking it out if you like puzzle platformers or are interested in sort of minimalist, low-poly aesthetics. It's a very nice looking game. I know I've said that quite a bit, but you can see for yourself. It has a very strong style going for it that I think is almost worth playing the game in and for itself, and then you also get a lot of nice puzzles to boot, so you're enjoying the visuals while also testing your mind, and it's a sort of nice full body experience. In any case, that's going to do it for me. If you enjoyed this video, you already know what to do. Like, subscribe, leave me a comment, let me know how you're doing for the day, what sort of games you might like to see in the future, and all that jazz. If you didn't like this video, go ahead and comment anyway. Dislike me if you like, but I would certainly like to know what I can do to make these videos better for you. I always love hearing from anybody that takes the time to watch my video, and if you went this far and did not enjoy yourself, then I think I deserve you at least a reply to whatever problem you may have had with this video. Thank you, and until next time, I am Nick Kiernan. That closing needs a bit of work, I will admit.